It's a double episode of the challenge. So we're celebrating with back-to-back episodes of You Killed It. I'm John Shidley Hill.
And I am Sheldon Alexander. Hyped
And
up.
hyped up. And as
Hyped
I
up.
said, this is You Killed It, the podcast talking about the challenge, season of the losers. We are
Don't do
still.
that. Don't do that. I'm going to fight you on this every single episode, okay? We
Do
are
you
doing
not
this is
recall what
episode.
Chauncey just did?
I mean, there's more great gameplay coming up, but this is episode 264 of the You Killed It podcast. We are breaking down, we're doubling up just like they did for us on MTV with episodes. We will do episodes 3 and 4 of the challenge Battle for a New Champion.
So we start with a scene that really sets the tone for the season.
Yeah,
We've got Mariah lying on a bed in what I can only describe as a distracting way, with Ed and James on other beds. So they're in a row, James, Ed, Mariah. And the tension is thick between Mariah and James, to the point where I was like, man, if I'm Ed, I'm leaving. And it turns out while all this is going on, Mariah, over the past year, has still been talking to Johnny Bananas.
I got it in quotes, spending time with Bananas. And I also wrote in my notes, okay, I'm old. I need someone to explain to me what this means. Give me the levels. Like, I feel like, we've grown past the, we're dealing, we're hanging out, Netflix and chill, we're dating, we're seeing each other. What is spending time with? Like, that to me sounds like the most basic baseline form of any type of casual relationship.
Sheldon, by that definition, you and I are spending time together.
I don't think that's the same type of spending time together that she's meaning when she's talking about her and Bananas and what they do in said time. I'm gonna guess that that's a little different than us on a feed here discussing the challenge.
Maybe as we're like 5 kilometers apart, but it just so
someone's like, "What's a kilometer?"
Oh my god! I'm going to defend Mariah here. Talking phase, spending time together phase that lasts for a year.
Busy people, man, busy skeds. We'll get there because there's more that happens there in this episode for sure. We'll get there though. So there's the talk still is about the Americans, and now it's turning on Raven because what she did, and she went and told Kieran, who's on the other side, right? And it's the age-old thing that we talk about all the time on this pod. Just lay low, especially early. Don't do anything to put a target on your back. And instead, she's doing the most to put a target on her back. I want to give someone else credit, though, here. Because if your name came up in a negative way, what might be a good way for you to curry favor with the rest of the house? What are some things you could do to make people think that you're a good house guest? That, you know what? It's early on. Maybe there's a reason we should keep this person in the house a little longer at least.
Cook them a beautiful steak dinner?
Shouts to Big T. This to me is genius. Okay. I didn't know that she went to culinary school after, like, while she was, in between her appearances on the challenge. But I think this is genius. She was making a massive steak dinner for the entire house. And I'm thinking, this is a great move. How have we not seen anyone do this before? We've seen, a couple things here and there, but never like a full-on steak dinner for everyone. That's large.
What I think this says is how much production wants Big T to stay in the house.
Oh,
because Big T is not getting high quality steaks shipped out to wherever they are.
Okay.
Right?
That's fair.
Like she's not getting those ingredients without a collaborator on the inside.
That's fair. I think those steaks looked really good. Like that actually made me really hungry when I was watching
Yeah.
it. I was like, yo, Big T doing her thing. I thought that was really cool and just a great move for sure. Why would someone, if I'm one of the guys and it's this early, let's keep Big T around for sure.
Oh, 100%. We're going to get to it now. Raven
Let's do it.
is noticing that no one's talking to her at the steak dinner. And she's like, I think it's because I backed idiot Chauncey.
Correct. It's like, maybe it's because I backed the guy who everyone else voted to go into the elimination,
including betraying my alliance. And like earlier, we had a scene where like Jay and Michelle and others, but mainly Jay and Michelle, were doing a debrief with the Brits about how badly Raven screwed up. And Michelle says, should I just give everyone a shovel and let everyone dig their own grave? I'll just go to the end then, she says somewhat sarcastically. Sheldon, I see you're nodding, but I don't think Michelle knows the definition of the word irony. Like, is she mad because like Raven stole her move of like shooting herself in the foot?
Jeez. Listen, maybe Michelle, there's a lot going on for Michelle right now in the house, and maybe she's just a little preoccupied because there's so much going on. And, I understand there's a lot going on for Michelle. She's just trying to figure her role in the house right now with so much going on around her.
I guess. Your girl Raven says in confessional that she didn't think it would impact her to take Chauncey's side. And it begs the question, why is she so loyal to him anyway?
I have no idea. Also, though, how could you not think that your alliance being like, this is what we want to do, and then you being like, actually, I'm the only person on the other side of this. How could you not think that would impact your game? There's so many questions. But you know what I don't question? A good old hot tub scene.
There's a lot going on here.
Just people vibing, people having a good time. Yeah, Asaf, your man's Asaf. A lot going on here for sure.
Production's going to have to drain that tub daily with what's going on in there.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's very true. There's a lot going on. Your man's Asaf is wearing a bikini. There's like hookups going on. There's Raven and Kieran, Michelle and Callum, Melissa and Kylan, James and Mariah. Lots going on. Berna, she's getting down. She's having her own good time. She's dancing, having a lot of fun. And then she looks over and she sees Melissa and Big T talking to each other and giggling. She thinks that they're laughing at her. And for the record, we don't really see that. Like what's shown to us, we barely even see Big T and Melissa like laughing at all. So we don't see it. We could take Berna's word that she feels like she thinks that they're making fun of her. So what happens next, John?
So after like everyone's toweling off, dried off, back in the main part of the house, and Berna decides to confront Big T and Melissa and says that she thinks they're bullies. And I that's an important phrasing.
Yeah.
She says she thinks that they're bullies. And Melissa immediately freaks out.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out Melissa was really bullied as a kid. She had to be pulled out of schools. She was beat up. She had a really, really hard time. So she takes deep offense. It's pretty clear that they're all drunk, which is a contributing factor.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
What did you think of all of this?
So I thought the whole thing was kind of weird because Berna, it's like when you confront someone, right? This is a message that I keep stressing in as we progress through, now we're in 2023. Okay. I feel like people have forgotten about consequences. And so when you bring something to someone, you don't know how that person's going to respond. You don't get to decide how that person responds. So when you bring energy and you try to bring smoke to someone and then they match your smoke or they have now lit a fire, which Melissa was definitely lit, you then don't get to like back down and be like, why are you getting so mad? It's like, well, you brought this to me, right?
Yeah.
So that whole part of it I thought was really dumb because Berna was calling them out for something. Melissa's saying, like, clearly the word bully struck a nerve with her, right? And now I understand why when the Remy's in the system, ain't no telling, right? But you're fired up, and Melissa's definitely hit a nerve with the word bully. And she snaps. She starts like going at Berna, but she's also explaining to her, like, don't call me a bully. And at one point, she lets her explain. And Berna says, well, I was looking over at you guys and you guys were laughing at me. So Melissa asks, wait, so that means I'm bullying you? Because you look over at us and we're laughing at you. That's what you think's happening. That's us bullying you, which I thought was a really pointed and great question. Because even if that is the case, that is not bullying, right? So I thought the whole thing was dumb. But I do want to give them all credit because I feel like the way that, that moment happens and, they go back at each other. And I love there's a lot of different points in this that I really enjoyed, that I really thought were good. As we deep dive, see, I'm glad the real challenge is back because we deep dive into these things and I love it. First off, I love the role that Nerys plays because Nerys is there taking it in and Melissa's yelling and screaming. And at one point, everyone's kind of like, the guys are kind of stepping in and Melissa's like, I'm not going to touch you. And Nerys is like, no, she's not going to touch you. And what that told me, those are two women that are used to the smoke. Right? Like they're used to the beef, the arguing. They know that, no, we're having an argument right now. Like, I'm not going to hit you. Like, that's not what's happening right now. And I saw that. Berna, not used to that. She couldn't handle that smoke. And eventually you could see that she lost it. And she actually bumped Melissa, to which Melissa then just like smiled, like, I got her. And then they get separated. Berna like smashes a lamp and then like takes off and, the whole thing was over. But I thought, another thing I want to point out, I didn't like Kylan's role in this. I didn't like that Kylan is off in some other room hearing this and he's like, oh, I wonder how this is going to impact my game. I didn't like that. But the whole like breakdown of what went down, I liked it all.
One thing that really struck me was that I want to say this very carefully. There's nothing wrong with being a sensitive person. Berna is clearly a very sensitive person. Mm-hmm. And again, that's who she is. That's wonderful. Empathy, sympathy, seeking to be understood and respected are all important things. It's not a good quality to have on the challenge.
Yeah.
Like she's confusing this for real life.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's cut it for the show. I genuinely don't. Like, if she's getting this upset from two people maybe looking at her and then saying something shitty about her, like,
yeah,
this ain't for you.
Yeah, totally. And the other part of this is, and later on, she has a conversation, a really good conversation, I thought, with Emmanuel, right? Where he correctly says the word bully, we would say it and the word isn't as heavy as she took it. So there is a bit of a language thing, which I could understand if that's what happened in this scenario, right? Mm-hmm. Because I will say that there is a thing within our culture where certain words get weaponized now, right? And like bully being one of them. Like, not every instance is about being bullied. I was talking about this earlier with a couple of my boys that you would know as well, but we're talking about the whole, I don't know if you've seen this Lane Kiffin thing that's going on right now. Well, Lane Kiffin is a coach at Old Miss. I think he's a football coach there. I think it's Old Miss. Anyways, there's a player who played on his team. And listen, details are coming out, so this story is ever changing. But essentially what happened is one of the players left the team. Like, he just left the team, didn't respond to any messages, didn't show up for a couple weeks. Then when he came back to finally meet with the coach, he was secretly recording their meeting. And the coach is explaining to him, hey, like, you just didn't show up for 2 weeks. You can't do that. Like, that's not allowed. And the kid's trying to say that he has mental health issues. And Lane Kiffin is explaining, okay, like, I understand that, but like, even if that is the case, you still have a responsibility to let us know where you are, let us know what's going on. You can't just disappear for 2 weeks. Like, that is in that's in the mental health handbook. Like, these are the rules, blah, blah, blah. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because this turned into some whole online debate because people are like, well, the kid's mad because Lane Kiffin was cussing him out and kicked him off the team. And then it's like this whole thing about mental health. And it's like all these words that people are using now in situations that are, it's not one size fits all. It just isn't. And so when you use a term like bully, right? Like we understand that, okay, Berna can be upset. That could really hurt her in the house and how she's perceived in the house and other people liking her. But you still got to choose your words carefully and be cognizant of the fact that words matter. Right. And like, if you try to call me blank, okay, now we're into this conversation now. And what does this really mean? Because we're having a drunken hot tub party. There's nobody bullying anybody there. We're on the reality show, The Challenge. Not to say that no one's ever been bullied on The Challenge. That's not what I'm saying. But in this scenario, I don't think so. And I think Emmanuel did a really good job of breaking that all down.
Well, it was never confirmed for us that what they were exchanging looks over was ever that.
But even if that was it, that's not bullying.
No.
You know what I mean? And it's okay for us to say that. Not everything, like it could be mean, it could be not nice, right? Like that's not nice. It's mean, maybe, but like what? Anyways.
I know. It's crazy. It's a crazy scene. And like I said, not everything is for everyone. And maybe Byrne is just not cut out for this show because like she's got to like toughen up in a hurry if she wants to stick around, right? Like this is too much.
Someone in our mentions might know, but I wonder if the other iterations of the challenge, not the USA, but the other like worldwide ones, do they deal in the extracurriculars, we'll say, outside of the competitions? You know what I mean? And like, is that what Byrne is used to, more of the USA style challenge as opposed to, you know, the regular American challenge that this season is?
It's a good question. So the daily competition, it's called Control Tower. It's pretty straightforward. They have to drive buggies around with numbers on the roofs, and they have to put them into particular parking spots to create an equation that is actually determined by two of their teammates sort of at a little, we'll call it a math station. Each equation is worth 10,000. If they get it all done in 30 minutes, TGA will give them an additional $10,000. In my notes, I have it. A pretty good deal. In my notes here, I have it that they need to stop fucking around. like they actually have to come up with a game plan. And what's fascinating to me is that in all the confessionals, they're all like, "Oh, we got to win more money. We got to do better. At no point have we seen them in the house before going to the daily competition, over breakfast, over that steak dinner that Big T made. We have not seen anyone be like, "Hey guys, we got to talk about our communication. Like we are a bad team."
Yeah.
Right. Like they're doing everything they can to fix this, except change.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And the interesting part of this challenge, I think, was figuring out the dynamics of who would do what. So essentially, you know, you figure out, okay, who are our smartest mathematicians? Turns out to be Kylan and Ed. They're the ones that are going to handle the equations. Obviously, the people that want to drive, cool. Your best communicators are going to be the passengers. And then Michelle played a huge role in this as she was kind of the leader directing traffic atop the, what was it called? Control? What was it called? Master Control? Or
Master
Control Tower. Control Tower. Master Control is like our like control room at a TV studio, which clearly my brain is lost in other facets of life right now. But Michelle doing a really good job directing traffic. She had a massive, massive role in this where the whole thing basically makes or breaks. Well, no, makes or breaks on the equations. You need to be able to solve the equations. But after that, the organization from the top has to go through Michelle. And I thought she had a really good, she did a really good job, but it also made me think who else could have done Michelle's job or the math questions. Right? Because I thought that was the key to this whole thing.
On this current season?
Yeah.
I do think Ed or Kieran could have done the announcing,
Okay.
the like directing. I think Jay, he kind of gets flustered. I don't
He
know that
helped, though.
anyone. Yeah, I don't know that anyone else could have done the math.
Okay. Okay.
What do you think?
I don't think anyone else could have done the math other than the three guys that we did see participate in it, because I just think that what ends up happening with most people on this challenge with basic math equations is that they get all flustered, can't figure it out. This was a little bit above a basic math equation because you had to do some thinking before you get to the actual mathematics of it, right? I think only the two guys that did it, Ed and Kylan, could have really handled it. And you know how I know this? Because no one was really getting mad when they struggled at a certain point. Like after the second one, I think it was that they started to struggle. No one was really getting mad. And that tells me that everyone else was kind of like, oh, wow, these guys can't figure it out. Then it must be really hard.
You know, the one thing I will note that Kylan and Ed should have done. So the third one is where they slow down.
Yeah.
Where they almost blew the whole thing. And they notice early on that the equations, the plus and the minus, were reversed in the third one compared to the first two. Their mistake was they should have told Michelle that and had those two moved.
Yeah.
While they were doing the math.
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal, but it would have saved them like 2 minutes.
Yeah. No. That's a great call by you. Definitely a good call. The overall, right? They do a good job in this. They solve all three of them. And really, as you mentioned, it was only the third one that they kind of struggled on, but everything else went pretty smoothly. My only critique, they win, they solve the challenge. It's good. That's a win for them. Cool. They get the money. My only critique of this was I felt like the way that it was showed to us, it could have been done in a better way in terms of the golf carts moving around to their desired spots. That part we didn't really get to see as a viewer in a way that made us understand how hard or not hard it actually was.
Yeah.
Like most of the shots we got were kind of just random, the cars driving around or people backing into the final spot. But like, I wanted to see if, the one car that should have been on the one side was on the complete other side. I wanted to see that actually take place. And we didn't really get that. But overall, great job by them to finally get a dub. Great job in teamwork, people understanding their roles. I thought that was good.
Yeah, it was the most competent that they have seen all season.
Yeah.
I do have to note, because I don't want to skip past it. My line of the episode is that I believe it was Callum says, "This is no longer Battle of the Champions. It's bottom of the barrel," which is what I've been saying.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I think Ed and Kylan get the most credit. Michelle organizing everything. I thought it was pretty cool. But the problem now is you got to vote someone in. And they're all talking about how it should be it's a social vote, essentially, right? Who's having the most problems within the house. So right away, we get this scene with DJ, Mel, and Berna where they talk and they explain. Mel explains how she was triggered by the word. Berna explains how she felt like she was bullied and didn't realize the word had so much meaning to Melissa. And basically, Melissa says, hey, if there is ever a problem, just sit me down and we could talk about it, which I thought was correct above all. And it was good to just see them make up.
I really liked what Melissa did here. I really respected her for addressing this head on and hopefully clearing the air.
Yeah, definitely.
But you know who's not into it? Mariah. Mariah later speaks with Colleen and is like, "Do you fight a lot with Berna?" and even says, she's an amazing competitor, but she would fight with a wall if she could. Things might be good between Mel and Berna, but not everyone's buying it.
It's true. Are you buying this Michelle and Callum relationship as we enter to the club and I want to know the music. I still don't get the music. It's fine. Michelle appears to be mesmerized by the muscles and tats. She's making out and she says, I like kissing Callum. Sorry, Mom. Awkward. Yeah, that would be very awkward for your mom to be watching that. Agreed. I also agree with Berna and Emmanuel right now about how it shouldn't be a social game, a social vote, right? Like they're saying whoever's having the most social problems, that's who should go in because nobody failed in this particular daily challenge. To me, this isn't just about this particular daily challenge. You have another daily challenge coming up. And so your focus should be on who will help us win that next challenge, right? And whoever the weak link is, that's who we should be trying to get out. But again, these people don't know how to play the game.
No, they're a mess. They're such a mess.
Raven's doing too much.
Raven's doing too much. It's just, Olivia wants Raven gone. It's just, anyway, we get to deliberation.
I just want to point one thing out for you.
Sure.
Your man's Jay telling Michelle that he's worried about her boyfriend. What do you make? What is Jay doing here?
That's tough. That's a good question.
It's not tough at all. Hold on. This is not tough at all. I just did the mistake of asking you a question that I thought I knew the answer to because I think it's very easy what Jay's doing. He is hating hard. He should be in the player haters ball from the Chappelle show. He's just straight hating here. And I don't even rep Callum at all, but Jay being like, you got to watch out for your boyfriend because, he might be trying to manipulate you and manipulate the game. And I don't know if I trust him. Bro, you're just straight hating. You still got I don't know what's went on with him and Michelle. I really don't. But why wouldn't you think, well, maybe Michelle could be manipulating him, or maybe the fact that Michelle is close with him could be helping your game because now she can use him to do whatever else. Straight.
Yeah. I don't think it's straight hate though. I think.
Hold on. Should she be trusting him is a way different conversation because he has a girlfriend and everybody knows that. But Michelle knows that. So
does she know that?
Yeah.
She suspects.
Oh, I thought they already had this conversation where they were like, remember she asked him and he paused and we were like, yeah, if a dude pauses like that, the answer to the question and it's not what.
But she's blowing past those red flags.
But she knows. If she doesn't know, she knows. Is what I'm saying.
She doesn't know for a fact. She suspects and she is ignoring that suspicion.
Okay.
And Jay. So there's two things going on in this conversation. Jay is saying, I don't trust this guy, but it's for two reasons, and he's conflating the two because he's drunk.
Okay. All right. We shall see. Sorry. To the deliberation, and we get the continued theme this season of people just burying themselves in these deliberations. Say Less should be the name of the deliberation, and Raven, following in the footsteps of Chauncey before her and Jessica before him, just starts talking too much. She says, I know that I might have broken some trust with some people because I was just trying to protect a friend. The whole time that she's been saying that, I was thinking she was talking about Chauncey, not realizing that she was talking about Kieran, which doesn't make any sense that this is your defense. You know why? Because Kieran's still in the house and so are you, and you're still on opposite alliances. So how is that your defense as to why people should trust you?
I mean, I can't defend it. And also, I forget who it is, but one of them makes the very good point. She's just so she's droning on, there's no emotion in her voice.
Yeah.
I think it's James who said she's completely losing the room.
She's talking for too long.
Way too long. to her credit, Berna then has to mount her defense, and Berna seems to wrap it up in like 3 sentences.
Mhm.
Basically, like, I'm sorry I'm so sensitive. I'm sorry I'm so moody. I'm working on it. I think you all see I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Melissa and I have sorted it out. We're good. Like, nice and tight. Nice and
Raven's
simple.
confessional. Raven's confessional. She says, "I've made every single rookie mistake, and I'm not even a rookie. I have no idea how to play this game."
I mean,
I
she's
saw
not
that.
wrong.
I was like, this show's amazing. I'm sorry, this show's amazing. Let's get to the strategy here of what these women decide that they're going to do and the burn vote strategy here, John.
Is it a strategy? Because I truly don't understand what they're trying to do here.
So they decide that they're going to burn the votes and not say a girl's name. And I think it's so that they want to save face with Berna or Raven, whichever one ends up coming back into the house. Which kind of makes which doesn't make sense, because whichever side you're on, just vote for the other person. But they don't want to show their cards, which again doesn't make sense.
They're also scared of someone coming back into the house angry with them. But like, let's like play it back. Let's say,
hold on.
Let's
The
say
other
Chauncey.
thing too, though, that they're mad at is they don't want to say Raven's name, have Raven be mad at them, and then pick them to go against in the elimination.
So, but sure, but like, if a woman's going in and a woman's going in, you're like, it's not like she's gonna like call down James. Like,
exactly.
But like, let's play this back. Let's say Chauncey beats James. Chauncey comes back into the house.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, the entire house still voted against him. So like, he can be mad all he wants.
Exactly.
But it doesn't matter. So
I
like,
wholeheartedly agree with you. They're outthinking themselves. That's what it is.
Yeah. So we do have this scene, and they bring it to Corey and Jay, who don't really like the plan.
Yeah.
And Corey makes the smart point that like, this is an opportunity for the men. Like, they could just vote for someone else, and like, they're handing control over to the men.
Yep.
And like, all I could think was like, he's not wrong, but also just keep your head down, Corey.
Yeah. Why would you tell them that?
Like, just mind your business. They're not talking about voting you in, so like, let it slide.
Totally agree, my dude. Totally agree. It really made no sense. And the other part was Corey telling, what's the girl's name? Zara?
Sarah.
Telling her that she was safe, but then going to tell other people that, oh, well, maybe I will vote her in. That was a weird flex, but we find out more about that later. The girls do end up burning their vote. The guys vote for Raven. Even the guy who she messed up her game for voted for Raven, which is just the chef's kiss to the stupidity of the play so far we've seen through 3 episodes of this. So again, Raven's in. Who should she pick?
Big T.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because again, we're talking about voting for who the weaker people are. And I don't know anything about how do you pronounce her name again?
Hahui.
Hahui. I don't know much about her, but she seemed like a physically good competitor. And Raven decides to take her on, which I thought was an interesting choice. What did you make of Raven's choice?
I mean, I guess in hindsight, we can't criticize it, but I don't know. Like I said, I would have taken Big T first. Hahui, I guess, is sort of on an island. Aside from Horacio, she doesn't have like deep ties with anyone. Mm-hmm. So like, I guess it could, repair things a little bit for her. But I still would have gone with Big T, because then if you win, you can come back to the Americans and be like, yeah, I just took out one of the Brits.
Yeah. It's also interesting too, because to me, I feel like Raven only really won, if we're being honest, right? And so this elimination ends up being whiplash, essentially, right? but Whiplash with a twist because there's multiples. And once you take it away from the other person or you find it in the dirt and the sand, you got to run it over, put it in the basket, right? And the thing here to me is Raven only does well because Mariah helps her.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Was it a good choice? You know what I mean? Like, yes, she won, but if Mariah doesn't help her, is it a good choice? I don't know. Because Mariah coached her into like, you got to body her, right?
The other thing is Hahui loses focus. In the third round, Hahui gets like one of the like crosses ripped from her hands and Raven scores it. And she ends up sort of like sulking about it and not like diving back into the and like who's to say what a difference that 30 seconds makes.
Totally agree. I love Mariah's line. She says, I want Raven still in the house because I know she's loyal to me and she's good physically. She just has no social game. Which is true. Because Raven does a good job, right? Once she realizes what the game is and the physical aspect of it, she dominated round 3. And so the women burn their vote. So Raven isn't mad at them. I guess that was their plan. I have no idea. Either way, yeah, Mariah saves Raven, who he gives like one of the greatest, like nicest, sweetest speeches on the way out. And Raven becomes the first person to get voted in, call someone out, and then send that person home. So yeah, shouts to Raven.
So who killed it for you this episode?
I don't know. I guess I can't say Raven because like she did the worst. Do you know what? I feel like I gotta give it to the mathematicians.
Yeah.
Ed and Kylan for being able to solve it and really spearhead the dub in the daily challenge. That's who I got to give it to.
I'm also going to go with Ed. Lesser Kylan, more Ed, because that's a nice transition to episode 4, which leads off with the daily competition Under Control, where your man Ed dominates. Like one of the best daily competition performances we've seen in a while. And I think people don't really like, at least in the house, don't really react to like what an incredible job Ed does on this.
Yeah.
So to set it up, they all have to swim out to these buoys, dive down, and there are triangles that are chained up. They have to snap them off. Each person is responsible for bringing one back to these floating, well, they look like Chrysler logos, but they have to swim out to these like floating docks. Each one
you end up putting a puzzle piece onto. And what ends up happening is that
they have to get the pieces out to these Chrysler logo looking floaty docks. And then once all 5 of those are completed, they then have to push the docks together and all get onto one big dock at the same time. Because there's 25 pieces, 4 of them are going to have to do the swimming and diving part twice. And when they're all trying to figure out, who's going to do what, they figure out, who they have a couple volunteers. And Ed is one of the ones who says, I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
Your man's, as soon as they jump in the water, he is ahead of everyone immediately.
So there's a big part here that I don't want to skip over too much.
Okay.
They have an opportunity to figure out like who does what. They know certain pieces, like because they're all divided by colors. One color is obviously further than the other, which means you'd want your best swimmers to be going towards that one. One of the colors is also deeper than some of the others. So again, you'd want your better swimmers taking care of that. And instead of organizing that, Callum just says, you know what, if the people who suck, not to be a dick hold on. Anytime you have to say not to be a dick, you're definitely about to be a dick, right? He says, we're basically going to be like, fuck you and just leave it. And everyone's like, wait, what? And I forget who it was that wanted to organize it. I don't remember if it was Michelle or not. It was someone else though that wanted to organize. And they're just like, no, we'll just freestyle it, which is the worst idea ever.
Yeah.
Horrible planning, which I'll get to after, but yes.
The one thing I'll say about that idea of like, oh yeah, we're not like, let's just freestyle it, is how much do you trust people's assessment of their own swimming ability? Because someone might say, oh, I'm an amazing swimmer, and then they're really bad. But if someone, for whatever reason, crushes it,
Mm-hmm.
then they should be like, whoever gets there first should be the one to double back. Right?
Fair.
Because
Totally.
they could take 30 seconds, catch their breath, and like get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like I understand that aspect of like, yeah, just freestyle it. Like if you're the first one there, then go double back and go get another one. Like,
but I feel like they were so close because all you really have to identify is your best swimmers and your worst swimmers. And so if you make sure your worst swimmers are going to the closest puzzle, the closest dock, and also getting the most shallow pieces, that's it. Everyone else can get in where they fit in the middle, but they couldn't even sort that out. And I thought that was a huge mistake.
The biggest issue is that Melissa and Nerys not good at this.
No.
They are, neither one of them can dive down for the longest time. Melissa sort of finds a second gear. She sort of explains that she taps into her maternal instincts. I didn't fully get it. She dives down. She gets it. So just Nerys is floating there by herself. Your man, Ed, goes back for a third time.
Yeah.
And gets it. And like, I wasn't wholly clear on the rules. Like, I wasn't sure if he was actually allowed to get Nerys's piece for her.
You are, but there was a stipulation where it was like everyone else had to be done first before you could go back and help someone. I think that's what it was.
Okay. Well, still,
I think
Ed is amazing in this. He's definitely the MVP of this challenge. They get it done with 3 seconds to spare. Like, it is as close as can be. I see you're making a face, Sheldon. Do you have something to say on this?
I'm going to call BS on this. Because, like, there's no way that they did it to time. A 0% chance they did it to time. And
I'm so glad you said this, because in the last one where TJ's like, yeah, and if you get like all 4 done, I'll give you a bonus $10,000. It really feels like the producers are like, oh, these guys suck. We got to start getting them like new ways to like win the money.
Yeah, you got to start building up the happy vibes before you then flip the game on its head with whatever the next twist is, right? So you need the happy vibes to come in. And, you know, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not knocking them for just saying that they won, because that's a better job of producing the show, right? Like, them sucking at every single challenge is not good television, right?
No.
We'd be like making fun of it, being like, this show sucks, these people suck, who are they, whatever. So fudging it is something that they probably do way more than we ever notice. It's just with this challenge, they messed up by putting the clock on the screen. And I let it slide because to me it was so obvious that they just timed it and said like, hey, they made it at the end. Like, to me, even the way that they cut it at the end made it so obvious because there were just huge jumps. But the clock is really what they messed up on, right? And most people, I bet, aren't even watching the clock. So like, I'm just the loser that saw it. But at one point, right, there's like 2 minutes left and there's still someone, there's a shot with 2 minutes left and someone is still swimming across the one of the pieces. And I think it was the black piece. So I think that's Ed when there's 2 minutes left. At a minute 25, magically 3 of those platforms are being clipped onto the podium. That's in 30 seconds. There's no way that it took them 30 seconds to swim to, like, even if the puzzle pieces were done on those other 3 podiums, there's no way it took them 30 seconds to swim those over to the dock and clip it in. Not a chance. Not buying it. Nah. And the fact that it just, if it really was the countdown like that, I would have made a way more dramatic production of it. Like, if they knew that they weren't going to rig it, you're going to make a whole bigger dramatic production where you're going to have like the time on a big screen so that you can see it. And then it's going to be like a buzzer beater and you're going to rush for it. Like that's pretty easy to do, but they don't do that because, you know, you're going to just fix it in editing. And I'm not saying that to ruin it. I'm actually saying it to applaud the producers for making a better show. You just come to this pod for the insight and, you know, the deep dives. And that's the only reason I'm talking about this here, right? But I'm giving them credit because what really happened, there's no chance that they did it on time.
It was pretty suspicious. Like there was one point where I think there was maybe 15 seconds left on the clock, and most of them were still in the water.
Yeah,
I'm like, you're telling me 21 people got on one floating dock in 15 seconds?
When you know you're going to help a bunch of people up.
In 18 seconds.
Yeah.
Because there's three. Suspicious.
Right.
So they're having another good night. They're partying. They're happy. They won their $50,000. And they're sort of playing like, who do you think's going to, you know, one of the things is like, who's not going to spend the night in their bed tonight?
Yeah.
And they all like look at Callum. Even Michelle's pointing at Callum, you know, like all that sort of stuff. And then Huey goes, who's most likely to cheat on their partner back at home? And smash cut to Callum.
First he said, who's more likely to go into elimination? Which is like, whoa, why are you switching up the vibes here? Then he went to just straight snitch mode, right? Of who's more likely to cheat on their girlfriend. It's like, bro, you realize we're all wearing microphones with a camera in front of us, right? What kind of question is that, bro? What are we doing here? Oh, man.
And so then they ask Callum in confessional, like, what's the deal with his situationship back at home?
Mm-hmm.
Sheldon.
Yep.
No good. This is no good for your girl, Michelle.
We knew this already.
We knew this. She doesn't know. I don't think she knows the extent of what's going on.
From the very first conversation they had, we can rewind the tape. We can rewind what we talked about on the pod. When you ask someone that you're meeting, like, hey, so are you seeing anyone? There's an easy, quick answer of no or yes, or, well, there is someone back home. But the way that my guy was like, boom, already, whatever you're about to say is a lie, bro. It's that simple. It's not that complicated, right?
I think she's got her blinders on, though.
Well, I mean, yeah, yes, definitely. She's mesmerized right now.
When
we've all been there, it's happened to all of us.
100%. And I'm not saying this out of judgment. It's, you know, when you have a chance with an entirely average British guy with face tattoos, you can't miss it. Like, you just can't pass that up. I get it.
That's her jam right now. My guy's got the muscles, the face tats, and the accent. She's mesmerized. Doesn't matter what he's saying.
So Huey has his first ever s'more, and Ed says, "This is what America tastes like." Is that what America tastes like? What do you imagine America tastes like, Sheldon?
I would say like hamburgers and hot dogs or something like that. Good old American pie.
Okay. That's a more wholesome answer than I was expecting.
I'd like people to message us and tell us what they think, especially our American listeners.
What does America taste like? I think you're right that it would be barbecue.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It tastes sweet too, though.
Yeah. There's a line that we left out about Michelle and Callum, though, where she says that Callum checks all the boxes. I just want to clarify something because I know I've come off as I'm just defending Michelle here. But she says he checks all the boxes. I'm just throwing this out here. Shouldn't one of those boxes be single? I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know. If you're saying someone checks all the boxes, I would hope that one of those boxes would be he's single. Just saying. No judgment.
Speaking of singledom, Nerys and Olivia are having a conversation about how James and Mariah are clearly vibing, even though she's still linked with Johnny Bananas. Now, I do think the editors did our girl Mariah dirty here because the way they juxtapose her and James having a conversation and Olivia and Nerys having a conversation seems like it's happening at the same time.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's not happening at the same time.
No.
Definitely not. So Olivia and Nerys say that Mariah is not official with Bananas, but they have been spending time together for over a year. I mean, we already discussed this.
I have a
When
theory.
you're litigating like whether or not you're a couple, like that's not great.
Definitely not. Listen, at a certain point, and I'm sure if over a year has passed and you haven't had the conversation about, are you seeing other people still, or are you like still on dating apps or whatever, and it's been a year,
Yeah.
you're seeing other people still, right? Like that's my assumption.
I also, like I already alluded to this, the age gap, Johnny Bananas is 41, Mariah is 27. I looked it up.
Yeah.
That's a really big age gap.
Mhm.
And like if Bananas at 41 isn't looking to like make it official, and like it's not like he lacks the confidence to be like, yes, I like you, we are dating, it's just us, like
I have a theory.
he's wasting her time.
I have a theory.
Lay it on me.
Bananas is a master manipulator and producer. I wouldn't put it past Bananas that we are being producered right now by all of these people involved, meaning Mariah, Bananas, Nerys, and Olivia. The fact that Nerys and Olivia are just like openly talking about this without Mariah being there tells me this is less of a real situation and more of a we're producing and making a storyline here for us, because I just don't see Nerys, especially Nerys and Olivia. They're not the kind of people that would just like be gossiping behind Mariah's back on camera like that. This is a whole manipulation of creating a storyline to keep Banana's name still a part of the season, but also have some juice for Mariah's character on the show, for Nerys and Olivia's character on the show, and their overall alliance. I think this is a work, and I'm here for it. I'm okay with it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it goes to show that even before they were on the season, Mariah was talking about it with Nerys and Olivia about like the lack of definition of her relationship with Johnny. Ed finally gets the hint and leaves the room. So James and Mariah and like part of what's unfair about the editing is that they're speaking as if Mariah has already cheated on Bananas with James. And like they're just talking, like it's certainly flirtatious. Like it'd be hurtful for Johnny to see, but like hasn't happened yet. But then Mariah indeed does get under the covers with James, and who knows what happens. And then Mariah and Nerys have a conversation where Mariah's like, I feel so bad. And Nerys is like, I don't know, it's that bad. And Nerys says to Mariah, which I think is true, even if it's not James, it's not Johnny.
Yeah.
Which is great because like it doesn't excuse what's going on with Mariah. Like Mariah should be seeking clarity. But she's right. Like it's clearly not going to happen with Johnny. Like she's doing things in the wrong order, but what's happening is inevitable. Right? Like she and Johnny Bananas are not meant to be.
Yeah. And she's talking about she feels bad because she's embarrassing him. Like, I just don't think all those things happen without Bananas knowing somewhat of it as it's happening or beforehand, or having a hand in it, being like, even if they had the simple conversation, like, yo, you're going on the season of the challenge. Like, if anything happens, like whatever, it's not a big deal. Like Bananas has been on the show long enough. He knows what's going down, right? Like, so it's not like he's like, oh, my girlfriend's going on the challenge and I'm not going to be there. I wonder what's going to happen.
Also, notably, we've seen people call that home.
Exactly.
We haven't seen Mariah call Johnny. And if anyone's going to get a phone call on the show. It's Johnny. But we saw when Wes was on the show, he was calling home to Johnny, or no, Johnny called home to Wes for advice.
Yeah.
Come on.
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
So deliberation.
Mm-hmm.
It's again a very confusing thing. People have been saying Corey's name. People have been saying Huey's name. Corey really has it out for Zara now for some reason.
Yeah.
And then they decide, well, it's a men's elimination.
Hold on.
You tell us why you shouldn't be eliminated.
Sorry, say that again. I think I cut you off.
So it's supposed to be a men's elimination. Huey and Corey seem to be the targets. And Huey is stunned and very upset. And so then they decide, okay, here's what we'll do. All the men explain why they should be kept, which is just an invitation to a wasted 30 minutes.
Correct. If there's a room of dudes that want to brag about how cool they are and how fit they are, Michelle with the line of the episode, she's like, what is this? This isn't a circle jerk. I don't know if you can say that, but I just did. It's like, no, you cannot say circle jerk on MTV, but the level of bleep that they bleeped it out, you could definitely tell what she said.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Amazing.
I mean, what's amazing to me is the obvious move is to, if you're like one of the guys, is just like make a joke about it.
Exactly.
Because all these other guys are being so serious about it that like you gotta just like.
James was like, I'm a good leader, and I'm such a good leader that even when I take a step back, the people that are in the leadership roles will still come up to me and ask me what they think, what I think they should do, just to make sure they're on the right path. It's like, bro, we're 3 episodes into the show. What the fuck are you talking about? That did not happen, right? Like that scene, unless it's on the cutting room floor, that did not happen, bro. What are you talking about?
It's craziness. It is. I gotta say, I would not want to be experiencing any of these deliberations in real life. Like they would be soul sucking. They'd be so bad.
It'd be so hard to avoid my facial expressions.
Right. So we get to the actual elimination where people have to vote. And the U.S. women are now talking about targeting James. Callum immediately goes and tells his buddy James what's happening. Mm-hmm. Mariah votes for Huey to protect James. And that's enough to like get everyone basically to vote for Huey.
These people are so confused. So confused. They just come up with a plan that, okay, we need to throw in James, make a big move, throw in one of their big guys. Okay, cool. That's your plan, whatever. Immediately after you flip, right? Because James finds out. Cool, I understand that. But because Mariah decided that she was going to vote for Huey, everyone else just followed suit. Because you could tell that everyone else was kind of like, oh, wait, she said Mariah. Why did she say Huey? So you could tell that this wasn't like, I felt like she was just trying to say Huey so that she didn't appear like she was a part of the plan.
Yeah.
And left room for everyone else to still go on and vote for James. So I wonder if it plays out differently if Mariah is not first. I also wonder how does TJ decide who he's asking first? I always wonder that. But anyways.
Well, Mariah was furthest to the right. So he did just start on one side, but also like, how did they order them up there? Like there's all sorts of questions. So Huey goes in, he picks Kyland to go against. And
what do you think of that choice?
I think the problem is Huey's friends with James, so he wouldn't call down James because, like, I think James has been exposed as being like bad cardio. Mm-hmm. I guess Kylan's a good choice. He's not a bad choice.
This is tough because I look at this elimination and I feel like there's some level of smarts or strategy to it. So I would have gone, for lack of a better term, the meathead route of taking someone that I think isn't as smart, that would have just tried to like think that this is just a physical challenge, and they would have messed it up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think anyways.
Yeah.
The guys also did the burn vote thing that they got mad at the women for doing, which is also hilarious. But yeah, Huey, I give Huey credit too for also telling Berna, if the whole house starts voting for me, just vote for me too. Don't worry about it. I thought that was a really good look. But Kyland, I thought, was the wrong person to pick, because Kyland is going to figure out how to maneuver this ramp in a way that Huey never did, really.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like the thing was, you had this, is it a ramp? What do you even call it?
Yeah, it's, I guess, ultimately a ramp, a chute.
Sure. And you had to roll the ball along the chute into 9 baskets, I think it was. But the baskets are different lengths away. The chute that you have, there's a different ending on both sides, meaning there should be a different strategy that you're using for each basket, which Kyland figures out. I don't know if Huey ever figured out, but I think they made this seem a lot closer than it actually was.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that Kyland really ran away with it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It was a cool challenge though. I liked it.
What I liked it too. What I also couldn't believe, talk about how they're confused, is like, and we saw this with Raven too. People were like cheering for Huey after voting him in, just as they were voting, like cheering for, like, these people don't know what they're doing. Like, this is the messiest gameplay I've ever seen, and I'm here for it. Like, it's really entertaining.
Yeah.
But like, my word, like
the strategy. Like I haven't checked Wes's Twitter account, but I wonder if he's watching this season just to hear the commentary of like, what is the game plan here? What is going on with these people? Because yeah, Huey's out, and which again I think should be the goal overall in terms of getting your weaker people out. But I really think the only reason Huey was the guy was because he started to annoy people as well. Like even during the daily challenge, he was super annoying and just trying to be like, oh no, well, I think I'm one of the better swimmers. And they're like, well, we already decided. He's like, well, okay, if we need an extra person though, I'll be the extra guy. And it's just like, just stop talking, bro. Right? Like just stop talking. And I think that he started to annoy people. And I think that led to his vote being voted in more so than what we think it should be, which is getting your weaker players out.
Yeah. I will say this. Johnny Bananas, someone tweeted at him the other day as this came out. Oh, how I wish Johnny Bananas was covering this train wreck on his podcast. And Johnny quote tweeted it and said, here's a recap. And it's a dumpster on fire floating down a flooded river.
Wow.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
But I'm entertained. I can't lie. I'm entertained because I have no idea what's going to happen next because their gameplay is so unpredictable. And yeah, I guess that's a good thing as a viewer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll also say, Wes tweeted, I'm a little confused because I thought the last committed relationship Bananas was in was 2 years ago. And even in this episode, it's alluded to that they're not exclusive. So this whole storyline feels like a reach. As the kids say, they were just kicking it, and now they're not. And then Johnny quote tweeted it and said, wait, Bergie, my name is being used on TV for a storyline and clout. In other news, the sun rose from the east this morning.
Right.
So Johnny Bananas not sweating it and not impressed with this season.
I mean, yeah, not surprising. As I said, though, I felt like we were being producered.
Yeah. So all that being said, this is a tough one. Again, who killed it for you this week?
I'm going with Ed. I'm going with Ed. It's got to be, right?
It's got to be Ed.
He put up a dominating performance.
I got to say, even like Ed is doing so well that I almost wondering if it's going to hurt him. Like, at what point are people going to be like, hey, this Ed guy's really smart and like a good swimmer and fast and everyone likes him?
It's interesting. Very interesting. because I think Ed has to be moving up the ranks here in terms because he's staying out of the drama too. He's not really a drama guy. He's a positive, good vibes guy. So yeah, he's someone they got to be worried about for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think it's got to be Ed. I think that's one of the most dominant daily challenge performances we've ever seen. And like I said, flew under the radar. Like people like there's one scene where Kieran's like, "Hey, did you get 3 of them?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "But you got 2. That's great," which is also like a beautiful deflection.
Great job.
Right?
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
He's pretty good. Where can the people find you on social media?
You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. Big shouts again to the people liking and subscribing wherever you're getting this pod. Thanks for rocking with us and keeping up. Let us know what you guys think of this season. I'm enjoying it. I think it's entertaining. Are you guys happy and entertained that the regular MTV version is back? Let us know in the mentions. John, where can the people find you?
Well, I am back from Brazil, obviously. It's beautiful. So they can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @JChidleyHill. I will be tweeting a lot about the Toronto Raptors and the Grey Cup, the Canadian Football League's championship, which I will be covering next weekend. So you can expect some of that on my social media, Raptors and CFL. And until next week, double blue. Shout out retired Argos great Matt Black.
Yes.
Friend of the show. So until next week, this was You Killed It.
You killed it.